Hi, hello, good morning. How are you all out there? So, welcome to the live reading session from Neetu's Academy. I'm Twinkle and I'll be teaching you how to go about your reading test. And this is your weekend, and I hope that you have a good weekend. But before that, let's get into our reading test. So, you all know that in IELTS, reading is considered as one of the most difficult tests. But let's see if we can make it a bit easy for you. Right. So, let me give you the basic details on reading. You have 1 hour for reading and you have to attempt 40 questions. Each question carries 1 mark, and there is no half mark system. So, you have to follow the instructions clearly to get a full mark. Right. The next thing is that when you get a reading text or reading passage, first thing that you can do is read the title of the passage. So, in this case, I have taken a full reading for us to do today, and here the material will pop up on the screen and you will be able to follow it. So, there are 2 ways in which you can attempt reading tests. If you are really good at reading, then first thing that you can do is just go glance through the passage and understand what it is about. Or if you are not so good at reading, you can just move on to the questions. And that is a method which I prefer. So, first thing, read the title of the passage. Now, reading test, as you know, is divided into 3 sections or 3 parts. So, the first part will have around 12 to 13 or 13 to 14 questions. Second part also the same, and third part also the same. And together it will make 40 questions. And in this case, you have 13 questions. And you are supposed to spend about 20 minutes to read on each passage. But I would suggest that you finish it as soon as possible. Time management is an important factor in reading. So, it's up to you. Now, in listening, it's not up to you. You just listen to it, write down the answer, and then if you don't focus on it and if you miss out on one answer, then you miss that chance to write down that answer. But in this case, in reading, time management is completely up to the person who is doing the test. That is what you have to understand. So, if you spend more than about a minute on finding one answer, then you will definitely lose time to find other answers. Towards the end, you will find it difficult to manage time. So, you should be aware of the time, and you should not spend more than a minute to find the answer to each question. Okay, because you have to do so many things. You remember that you have to read the question, you have to come back to the passage and find the answer, read it, find the answer, and then write it down. Then and there itself, you won't get extra time to write answers, to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. So, write the answers down on the answer sheet in full capital letters. So, I hope you understood the basics. So, first thing is that you have 60 minutes, you have to attempt 40 questions. Then each test is divided into 3 parts, which will have 13 to 14 questions, and together they will make 40 questions. Each answer carries 1 mark, and if you miss out on the instructions, like you will be given instructions like write 1 word only, or write the answer in no more than 2 words or 3 words. So, if you write more than that, of course you will lose mark, and time management is in your hands in this case in reading. Alright, so now let's get into today's reading. First thing is the impact of climate change on butterflies in Britain. So, it's self-explanatory. Okay, so let's move on, go on to read the first type of questions. So, there are different types, and among that, I would say the most important one is true, false not given, or yes, no not given, because you will not get even one test where you won't have this type of question at least in one part. ഈ ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ വിൽ ബി ദെയർ. ഒരു ഭാഗത്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു പാർട്ടിലെങ്കിലും ഈ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ട്രൂ, ഫാൾസ്, നോട്ട് ഗിവൺ. നൗ ഇഫ് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ജസ്റ്റ് ട്രൂ ഓർ ഫാൾസ്, ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇറ്റ് വുഡ് ഹാവ് ബീൻ ഈസിയർ. ബട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഫാൾസും നോട്ട് ഗിവണും തമ്മിൽ മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് ഒരു മെയിൻ കംപ്ലൈൻ്റ് ആണ് among the test takers. So there are some methods by which you can understand what the answer is. So it's clearly given here. True if the statement agrees with the information. You are checking to see if this statement is true. So you cannot assume anything. That is another thing. You have to read the passage and find the information and then write down your answer. So in this case, 40 years ago, there were fewer butterflies in Britain than at present, which means 40 years ago, 40 വർഷം മുമ്പ് ബട്ടർഫ്ലൈസിൻ്റെ എണ്ണം കുറവായിരുന്നു ഇന്നത്തെക്കാളും. So in this type of question, the best thing to do is to just read one statement, then go back and find the answer. Because if you go on to read all the statements here, you have 6 statements. If you go on to read all the 6 statements, you are not going to remember it, and you will come back to read it again and again, which is a wastage of time. So let's not do that. So first thing that you have to do is read the first statement. 40 years ago, there were fewer butterflies in Britain than at present. Now go back to the passage and read from the beginning. In this true false not given, it is going to be in order, so you don't have to worry about answers being here and there or mixed up or jumbled up. It's going to be in order. And the first one, according to conservationists, populations of around 2/3 of butterfly species have declined in Britain over the past 40 years. So you got your answer there. The number of butterflies, it says there were fewer butterflies in Britain than at present. So from this you know that they are not going to give you straight answers, straight statements. They are going to somehow turn it and twist it and then ask you the question so that you get confused. But you should understand clearly. Translate it into your own language. If you are a Malayali, then translate this into your Malayalam and understand what it is. So here, 40 years ago, there were fewer butterflies in Britain than at present, meaning ഇപ്പോഴാണ് ബട്ടർഫ്ലൈസിൻ്റെ എണ്ണം കൂടുതലും, പണ്ട് കുറവായിരുന്നു. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് ദ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് സേസ്. വേറാസ് ഇൻ ദ പാസേജ് ഇറ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട്സ് ബൈ സേയിങ് ദാറ്റ് 2/3 of butterfly species have declined meaning ഈ 40 വർഷത്തിൽ എണ്ണം കുറഞ്ഞു. 2/3 ബട്ടർഫ്ലൈ സ്പീഷീസിൻ്റെ എണ്ണം കുറഞ്ഞു, which means your statement is false. The reason why I'm explaining this so bit by bit is there are so many people who don't understand this straight away. That's why I'm explaining it, tearing it apart and explaining it. Next one, caterpillars are eaten by a number of different predators. So caterpillars-ne ഒരുപാട് പലതരത്തിലുള്ള എന്താ പറയുക പലതരത്തിലുള്ള ആനിമൽസോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് കഴിക്കാറുണ്ട്. സോ കാറ്റർപില്ലേഴ്സ് ആർ പ്രേ ടു ദാറ്റ്. കാറ്റർപില്ലേഴ്സിനെ കഴിക്കാറുണ്ട്. ലെറ്റ്സ് ഗോ ഓൺ ടു റീഡ്. Butterfly eggs develop into caterpillars, and these insects, which are the second stage in a new butterfly cycle, consume vast quantities of plant material and in turn act as prey for birds as well as bats and other small mammals. Birds, bats, other small mammals, so different predators. So caterpillars ne idellam കഴിക്കാറുണ്ട്. Therefore your answer to this question is true. Let's go on to see the next one. Phenology is a term used to describe a creature's ability to alter the location of a life cycle event. See that? It's a term used to describe a creature's ability to alter what? The location of a life cycle event. Now go back and read. Let's see where it comes. Butterflies prefer outdoor conditions to be just right, which means neither too hot nor too cold. And we go on to read this, and here we can read, under the conditions of climate change, the temperature at any given time in summer is generally getting warmer, leaving butterflies with the challenge of how to deal with this. One of the main ways in which species are ensuring conditions suit them is by changing the time of year at which they are active and reproduce. They are active and reproduce, that is a life cycle event. So what are they changing? They are not changing the location, they are changing the time. Scientists refer to the timing of such life cycle events as phenology, which means your answer is false. Phenology എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ലൊക്കേഷൻ ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ലൈഫ് സൈക്കിൾ ഇവൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ലൊക്കേഷൻ അല്ല ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ടൈമിംഗ് ആണ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. Therefore, the third answer is false. Next one. Some species of butterfly have a reduced lifespan due to spring temperature increases. So we saw that spring temperature increases എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഈ സെക്കൻഡ് പാരഗ്രാഫിൽ it was mentioned. So did it say anything about some types of butterflies having a reduced lifespan? Let's see. Okay. Phenology. So when an animal or plant starts to do something earlier in the year than it usually does, it is said to be advancing its phenology. So in this paragraph, you read about temperature changes, but you didn't read that there are some types of or species of butterflies which have a reduced lifespan. അങ്ങനെ ഒന്നും ഇതിൽ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. Therefore, your answer is not given. Next. There is a clear reason for the adaptations that butterflies are making to climate change. Remember, there is a clear reason എന്നാണ് ഈ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് പറയുന്നത്. Let's see. These advances have been observed already in a wide range of butterflies. Indeed, most species are advancing their phenology to some extent. In Britain, as the average spring temperature has increased by roughly 0.5 degrees Celsius over the past 20 years, species have advanced in between 3 days and a week on average to keep in line with cooler temperatures. Is this a sign that butterflies are well equipped to cope with climate change and readily adjust to new temperatures? Or are these populations under stress, being dragged along unwillingly and unnaturally fast changes? The answer is still unknown, but a new study is seeking to answer these questions. So your question or statement is, there is a clear reason for the adaptations that butterflies are making to climate change. In the third paragraph, you come across these questions and you get the statement, the answer is still unknown. Therefore, your answer is false. The statement is false. There is no clear reason because it says that there is the answer is unknown. Okay. And the last one. The data used in the study was taken from the work of amateur butterfly watchers. The data used in the study was taken from the work of amateur butterfly watchers. So, first, the researchers pulled together data from millions of records that had been submitted by butterfly enthusiasts, people who spend their free time observing the activities of different species. So you have it straight away there. The data used in the study was taken from the work of amateur butterfly watchers and it is true. I hope that is clear before moving on to the next type of question. Right. Now question number 7 to 13. Complete the notes and choose one word only. Now it is imperative that you follow this instruction clearly. There are people who write a or an or the along with the answer, but it will add, remember, a, an, all these are words. These are articles, these are words, and they will definitely be counted as another word. So if you write that along with your answer, you will not be following the instruction. So you have to choose one word only from the passage. Right. Butterflies in the UK. The small blue. Now we have read around 3-4 paragraphs, and we didn't come across anything called the small blue. So we have to read further. So you understand that it comes one after the other, and we got our answer for true false not given. Last answer was found in the fourth paragraph. Right. So till then, when you read, you didn't find anything called small blue. That means you don't have to read it again, you have to read further. Okay, so we'll just go on to find the word small blue. I'm not going to read the entire thing as I did in earlier live sessions. We'll come back to it later. Let's just read, go on and find small blue. And in this paragraph, you find the word small blue. So let's read from the beginning of that paragraph. Among these species, researchers observed that those which have been advancing their phenology most over the 20-year study period also had the most positive trends in abundance, distribution, and northwards extent. For these species, such as Britain's tiniest butterfly, the dainty small blue, whose colonies are up to 100 strong, some develop into butterflies early in spring, allowing their summer generations to complete another reproductive cycle by autumn so that more population growth occurs. So, I'm sorry, I did not read the questions first. Butterflies in the UK, the small blue. What you have pointers here. Lives in large what? Then the next one. First appears at the start of dash. Completes more than one reproductive cycle per year. Right, what did we read about small blue? So we read it here that for these species such as Britain's tiniest butterfly, the dainty small blue, whose colonies are up to 100 strong. So you know colonies means a group of these butterflies. So lives in large colonies. Colonies is your answer. And the second one first appears at the start of, let's go on to read. Some develop into butterflies early in spring. So that is your answer. First appears at the start of spring. Now the next one, the high brown fritillary has one reproductive, that is another type of butterfly. So it has one reproductive cycle, is considered to be more dash than other species. When comparing with other species, this high brown fritillary is compared to be more something. Let's find that word. Its caterpillars occupy a limited range of what? Right. Come back and let's read this. Other species, however, are less flexible and restricted to a single reproductive cycle per year. For these species, there was no evidence of any benefit to emerging earlier. Indeed, worryingly, it was found that the species in this group that specialize in very specific habitat types, often related to the caterpillar's preferred diet, actually tended to be most at harm from advancing phenology. The beautiful high brown fritillary, often described as Britain's most endangered butterfly, is in this group. So, when do you say most? Most means when comparing with compared to other species, ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ. So here you have it is considered to be more endangered than other species. Endangered is the answer, 9th one. Next one, its caterpillars occupy a limited range of what? So we already saw that it was found that the species in this group that specialize in very specific habitat types. So what do you call the place that you occupy? Habitat. So very specific means limited range. Its caterpillars occupy a limited range of habitats. Habitat or habitats. You can write either one of those as answers. So that is your answer for the 10th question. Next one, the silver-studded blue is already able to reproduce twice a year in warm areas of dash. So obviously this is going to be a place name. In warm areas of which place? Let's see, the silver-studded blue. All is not lost, however. Many of Britain's single-generation species show the capacity in continental Europe to add a second generation in years that are sufficiently warm. You got the place name. Is already able to reproduce twice in warm areas of Europe. Europe is your answer for the 11th question. Next one, the white admiral. is found in dash areas of England. Which areas of England? And let's read the next one also. Both climate change and the dash of the caterpillar are possible reasons for decline. So there are two reasons given. Both means two. So one reason is climate change and then something of the caterpillar. So let's go on to find the 12th and 13th answers. White admiral is found in dash areas of England. Right. Let's see. More immediately, conservationists can arm themselves with all this knowledge to spot the warning signs of species that may be at risk. The white admiral of southern England. So which part of England? Southern. You have to write southern here, not write just south. It is found in southern areas of England. SOUTHERN. And then let's see what is causing the decline for these species. The white admiral of southern England, a much sought after butterfly, experienced a significant increase in numbers from the 1920s but has shown a considerable decline in the past 20 years. So what are the reasons? This may be because the caterpillar exists solely on a diet of a plant called honeysuckle, but it is also likely due to climate change. So climate change is already mentioned in our question, both climate change and what is the other reason given? Diet. Diet, which consists of a plant called honeysuckle. So we just need to write diet. That brings us to the end of part 1. Now moving on to part 2. It is about deep sea mining. Okay, let's go to the question part. And then, right. Again here, the question numbers are from 14 to 26. Deep sea mining. Bacteria from the ocean floor can beat superbugs and cancer, but habitats are at risk from the hunger for marine minerals. So that is the whole paragraph or passage in our gist. And now we go on to read the questions. Now here, this type of question where you have to find the information from the paragraphs, okay, from specific paragraphs. In this type of question, the best way to manage time is to read all the statements given here or read all the questions. So we have 14, 15, 16, 17. Now read it, and it's impossible to memorize it, of course. You just write down the important points in each of those statements and then go on to read from the beginning. And when you read the first paragraph, a paragraph, if there is some information there which is there in one of these questions, you can write it or write the answer with regard to that question. Okay, so here this type of question, because there is a simple logic behind this. If you go one by one, if you just read one statement, that is the 14th question, let's just see. If you are reading the 14th statement, reference to the rapidly increasing need for one raw material in the transport industry. And when you read the passage, you will find that it will come down maybe in the 3rd or 4th paragraph, I don't know. So it will come down to that. So you are reading all those paragraphs A, B, C, where there might be other answers, and you are finding the answer for the first one. Then again you have to go back and read the 15th, for the 15th answer you have to read from the beginning. So it's a waste of time. That is why you simply have to read all the statements of this type of question and then go on, read the first paragraph and see if there is any information in any one of those statements. If there is, then you get your answer there. Write it on that number. Do not, it's easy to make mistakes here, interchanging the numbers and all that. But if you are focused, then you won't make that mistake. Right. Let's read all these statements. Reference to the rapidly increasing need for one raw material in the transport industry. So remember, one raw material in the transport industry. So which paragraph has that information? Next one, a rough estimate of the area of Earth covered by the oceans. Quite simple. Next one, how a particular underwater habitat where minerals and organisms coexist is formed. Which paragraph has that information? Next one, reference to the fact that the countries of the world have yet to agree on rules for the exploration of the seabed. Right. Now we read from the first paragraph, that is paragraph A. Let's go on to read, and it's going to take some time because I am reading it out aloud. When Professor Matt Upton found that a microbe from a deep sea sponge was killing pathogenic bugs in his laboratory, he realized it could be a breakthrough in the fight against antibiotic-resistant superbugs, which are responsible for thousands of deaths a year in the UK alone. So, there is another easy method to find if that paragraph is talking about any of these. Okay. When you come to this, you don't find anything about a raw material in transport industry or a rough estimate of the area covered by oceans or particular underwater habitat forming or countries agreeing or where it refers to countries not agreeing to rules. Right. This is about Mr. Matt Upton, Professor Matt Upton, finding the resistant antibiotic, some virus or pathogenic bugs, not the virus. He found a microbe that was killing pathogenic bugs. Right. Now, when you read this, let's just go back and find if there is any information regarding that. There is nothing there. So we come down. We are looking at the bioactive potential of marine resources to see if there are any more medicines or drugs down there before we destroy it forever, says Upton, a medical microbiologist at the University of Plymouth. He's among many scientists urging to halt deep sea mining, asking for time to weigh up the pros and cons. So nothing here. Okay, go on, read, and you will find that there is nothing there. Next. The deep sea contains more nickel, cobalt, and rare earth metals than all land reserves combined, according to the US Geological Survey. Mining corporations argue that deep sea exploration could help diversify the supply of metals and point to the fact that demand for resources such as copper, aluminum, cobalt for electric car batteries, and other metals to power technology and smartphones is soaring. So you have your answer there. Okay, you have the reference to the rapidly increasing need for one raw material in the transport industry, cobalt for electric car batteries. Therefore, your 14th answer is C. Next one. Next, we have to go on and read the next paragraph. But environmental and legal groups have urged caution, arguing that there are potentially massive and unknown ramifications for the environment and for nearby communities, and that the global regulatory framework is not yet drafted. So, global meaning the whole world, countries or nations of the world, and regulatory framework, regulations, rules. So, reference to the fact that the countries of the world have yet to agree on rules for the exploration of the seabed. 17th answer is D. So you got that. Next one. Scientific research, including a recent paper in Marine Policy Journal, has suggested that deep seabed and hydrothermal vents, which are created when seawater meets volcanic magma, have crucial impacts upon biodiversity and the global climate. You read something about an underwater habitat where minerals and organisms coexist and how it is formed, how this particular habitat is formed, and you saw that. See, it's easy to miss this information, but you have to be mindful of what you are reading. Okay, scientific research and in this policy journal has suggested the deep seabed and hydrothermal vents which are created when seawater meets volcanic magma. So, how a particular underwater habitat, what habitat is that? Deep sea vents, where minerals and organisms coexist, is formed. So, your 16th answer is E. And you have here the oceans occupy around 70% of the planet and are relatively unexplored. So that is your 15th answer, a rough estimate of the area of the earth covered by the oceans. Therefore, you have your answers, all your answers there. 14th one is C, 15th one is F, 16th one is E, and 17th one is D. Right, moving on. 18 to 23. Look at the following statements and the list of people below. So you have to match each statement with the people who have said them or who have given an opinion on them. You may use any letter more than once. Now this is an important note that you should remember. In this case, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions, 18 to 23, and you have only 5 people. That means one answer is bound to be repeated. Okay. Here also we use the same method. Now these are not regular type of questions like true, false, not given, or list of headings, or finding information from the passage. These are not regular type of questions. These type of questions are not there in all the passages or tests that you would practice. But when you do, you have to understand how to go about it. Right, here the best thing to do is read the list of people. You have A. Professor Matt Upton, B. Julie Hunter, Julian Aguan and Pradeep Singh, C. Dr. John Copley, D. Mike Johnson, E. Verena Tunnicliffe. So the pronunciation of the names, they don't matter much. Right, now what we have to do is read these statements. Okay, just keep in mind, like I said, you have to be mindful of what you are reading, underline or highlight the important points in each statement, and then when we go back to the passage, find the names. Instead of looking for the information, find the names and read the lines around those names. That will take you to the answer faster than finding this information given. 18th question. A move away from the exploration of heavily mined reserves on land is a good idea. Who said that, or whose idea is that? A move away from the exploration of heavily mined reserves on land is a good idea, which means that landil reserves vendittu nokkade seail poi nokkanollu. Next one. The negative effects of undersea exploration on local areas and their inhabitants are being ignored. Undersea exploration ഉണ്ടായാൽ ഈ ലോക്കൽ ഏരിയാസിനും ഇൻഹാബിറ്റൻസിനും ഉള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഇഗ്നോർഡ് ആണ്. Then there are more worthwhile things to extract from the sea than minerals. മിനറൽസിലും കൂടുതൽ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള വർത്ത് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സാധനങ്ങളുണ്ട് സീയിൽ എക്സ്പ്ലോർ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട്. No other form of human exploration will have such a destructive impact on marine life as deep sea mining. So no other form of human exploration will have such a destructive impact on marine life as deep sea mining. So deep sea mining is more destructive than other forms of mining, other forms of exploration. More is known about outer space than about what lies beneath the oceans. So about outer space we know more than we know about what is beyond the oceans, or beyond what we see in the ocean. There is one marine life habitat where experts agree mining should not take place. So one marine life habitat എവിടെയാണ് ഒരു സ്ഥലം where experts agree mining should not take place at all. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go back to the paragraph or passage and then read the names of the people. So we already read the name Matt Upton, and what is he saying? Okay, he realized it would be a breakthrough in the fight against antibiotics. So resistant superbugs, which are responsible for thousands of deaths a year in the UK alone. Further tests confirmed that an antibiotic sponge. Okay, let's just leave that line. But Upton and other scientists who view the deep ocean and its wealth of unique and undocumented species as a prospecting ground for new medicines fear such potential will be lost in the rush to exploit the deep sea's equally rich metal and mineral resources. Okay, so we are looking, just read the next line also. We are looking at the bioactive potential of marine resources to see if there are any more medicines or drugs down there before we destroy it forever. So from these two lines, you get what Upton has said. There are more worthwhile things to extract from the sea than minerals. So there are bioactive materials or medicinal plants or animals that can be extracted from the sea than minerals. So 20th answer is A. Your answer for 20, question number 20 is A. Next, let's move on. So in the second paragraph also you find Upton's name only. Like I said, remember this, in this type of question it is better to find the name of the person mentioned and then go about reading the lines there. So here also there is no other name. Next, in the C paragraph, you have the deep sea contains more nickel, rare earth minerals. You read through it. You know, this is something called, you can see me in between doing something called skimming and scanning, which means you just go by the lines and see if there are any names given there, and then if there are not, then move on. Okay, so here in this paragraph, D paragraph, we find the names. Despite rising in the last half century, the new global gold rush of deep sea mining shares many features with the past resource scrambles, including a general disregard for environmental and social impacts and the marginalization of indigenous peoples and their rights. A paper written by Julie Hunter and Julian Argoan from Blue Ocean Law and Pradeep Singh from the Center for Marine Environmental Sciences, Bremen argues. So you have the names of these people, and what are they saying? When they do the mining, deep sea mining, there is a general disregard, or they are not concerned. The people who do the mining are not concerned about the environmental and social impacts. So you have this here. A move away from the exploration. No. Negative effects of right. 19th. The negative effects of undersea exploration on local areas and their inhabitants are being ignored. Who said this? 19th one. Your answer is B. Julie Hunter, Julian Agon, and Pradeep Singh. Okay. So 19th one is B. Next one. There are more things mentioned here. So let's read on. The authors say that the knowledge of the deep seabed remains extremely limited. The surface of the Moon, Mars, and even Venus have all been mapped and studied in much greater detail, leading marine scientists to commonly remark that with respect to the deep sea, we don't yet know what we need to know. So, you have your answer there. More is known about outer space than about what lies beneath the oceans. 22nd answer is also B. Right, moving on. So you have two answers there with the same letter, 19th and 22nd. Next one. Scientific research, including a recent paper in Marine Policy Journal, has suggested that deep seabed and hydrothermal vents which are created. Okay, let's move on. Nothing is mentioned there, and we have to see the names. Okay, it is becoming increasingly clear that deep sea mining poses a grave threat to these vitals, even the paper says. Okay, again, no names, and here we have the name. In this paragraph, the last part, you have the name. On deep sea vents, scientists are clear, says Dr. John Copley of the National Oceanography Center, Southampton. We don't want mining on them. So you read something there. There is one marine life habitat where experts agree mining should not take place. So your 23rd answer is John Copley. So you have to write C. 23 is C. We have not found 18th one. We have not found the rest we have found. So we'll go on and read. The oceans occupy around 70% of the planet and are relatively unexplored, says Mike Johnston. So you have the next name here. It makes sense to explore this untapped potential in an environmentally sustainable way instead of continually looking at the fast depleting land resources of the planet to meet society's rising needs. So, you have here the negative a move away from the exploration of heavily mined reserves on land is a good idea. Who said that? Mike Johnston. So your answer is D. 18th answer is D. And we have the last name. Mining will be the greatest assault on deep sea ecosystems ever inflicted by humans, according to hydrothermal vent expert Verena Tunnicliffe. So, mining will be the greatest assault on deep sea ecosystems. So, greatest means more than any other. No other form of human exploration will have such a destructive impact on marine life as deep sea mining. That was mentioned by Verena Tunnicliffe. So you have all your answers here. 18th one is D, 19th one is B, 20th one is A, 21 E, and 22 B, and 23 C. Okay, let's move on. Now you have the summary completion. Choose one word only from the passage for each answer. Mining the seafloor. Mining corporations believe that the mineral resources lying under the sea may be superior to those found in the earth. They also say that these can be removed without producing much water. So we read about mining the seafloor in the C paragraph. The deep sea contains more nickel, cobalt, and rare earth metals than all land reserves combined. According to the US Geological Survey, mining corporations argue that deep sea exploration could help diversify the supply of metals and point to the fact that demand for resources such as copper, aluminum, cobalt for electric car batteries and other metals to power technology and smartphones is soaring. They say that deep sea mining could yield far superior ore to land mining with little, if any, waste. So, they say that these can be removed without producing much waste. Waste is your answer. Reading the next line, the extraction is often done by adapting the dash that has already been used to work on land. The extraction is often done by adapting the what? Let's move on to read the paragraph. Different methods of extraction exist. That's what we read there now. But most involve employing some form of converted machinery previously used in terrestrial mining to excavate materials from the seafloor. So you have your answer. The extraction is often done by adapting the machinery that has already been used to work on land. For land, they have given another word, that is terrestrial. Next one. The method of excavation involves removing the seawater from the slurry that is brought up to ships and returning it to the seabed. However, concerned groups strongly believe that dash is necessary due to the possible number of unidentified consequences. So we don't find anything of that sort here in the C paragraph. The slurry is in the water, all that is given. But coming to the D paragraph, you have environmental and legal groups have urged caution, arguing there are potentially massive and unknown ramifications for the environment and for nearby communities. So what have they strongly advised? Caution is necessary. So caution is your 26th answer. So we have completed 1 and 2 parts. Now moving on to reading passage 3. Here they are talking about the unselfish gene. A psychologist gives his view on how humans became self-centered, how we became selfish. Let's go on to see the questions, and coming here. Yeah. So I have just marked the paragraphs here so that it is easy for us to find. I've just numbered it. Now reading the questions. This type is multiple choice. Here also it is easy to get confused, but again you have to be mindful of what you are reading, understand what the meaning of each line is, and then it will be easy to find out. here you read the question and read the options given, then go on to read the paragraph or passage. What is the writer doing in the first paragraph? Easy. We just have to read the first paragraph and then find the answer. What are the options given? Setting out two opposing views about human nature. Is the writer doing that? Is he justifying his opinion about our tendency to be greedy? Is he describing a commonly held belief about people's behavior? Or is he explaining why he thinks that humans act in a selfish manner? What is he doing in the first paragraph is our question. There has long been a general assumption that human beings are essentially selfish. We are apparently ruthless, with strong impulses to compete against each other for resources and to accumulate power and possessions. If we are kind to one another, it's usually because we have ulterior motives. If we are good, it's only because we have managed to control and transcend our innate selfishness and brutality. So, what is being mentioned in the first paragraph? He is describing a commonly held belief about people's behavior. The writer is doing that. Let's read that once more. There has long been a general assumption that human beings are essentially selfish. We are apparently ruthless, with strong impulses to compete against each other for resources and to accumulate power and possessions. If we are kind to one another, it's usually because we have ulterior motives. If we are good, it's only because we have managed to control and transcend our innate selfishness and brutality. So, what is he doing? He is describing a commonly held belief about people's behavior. So, therefore, 27th answer is C. Next one. What point is made about Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene? Let's read the options. Its appeal lay in the radical nature of its ideas. Its success was due to the scientific support it offered. It presented a view that was in line with the attitudes of its time, or it took an innovative approach to the analysis of human psychology. So let's see. This bleak view of human nature is closely associated with the science writer Richard Dawkins, whose 1976 book, The Selfish Gene, became popular because, so you have the reason here, why did it become popular? It fitted so well with and helped to justify the competitive and individualistic ethos that was so prevalent in the 20th century societies. Okay, so we have our answer here. It presented a view. What point is made about this book? It presented a view that was in line with the attitudes of its time. C is again your answer. Next one. What does the writer suggest about the prehistoric era in the fourth paragraph? See, this is the reason why I numbered the paragraphs. Let's read the options. Societies were more complex than many people believe. Supplies of natural resources were probably relatively plentiful. Most estimates about population sizes are likely to be inaccurate, or humans moved across continents more than was previously thought. What is mentioned in the fourth paragraph about the prehistoric era? Right. You just have to move on and read the fourth paragraph. It's important to remember that in the prehistoric era, the world was very sparsely populated, meaning there were not many people. According to some estimates, around 15,000 years ago, the population of Europe was only 29,000 and the population of the whole world was less than 500,000. Humans at that time were hunter-gatherers, people who lived by hunting wild animals and collecting wild plants. With such small population densities, it seems unlikely that prehistoric hunter-gatherer groups had to compete against each other for resources or had